And I'm also going to record on, okay, we got, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. A lot of people, we have all kinds of people showing up. Wow. Look at that. Great. Welcome everybody. Everybody's just getting kind of warmed up here and we're just, they're getting their sound going, I see. So thank you for coming. Really appreciate this. And got some more people coming in. Hang on, admit. Great. Okay, he's joining now. So Michael, hey, you know.
Hi, Ron.
You know, that's right, hey, man. Michael, man, we're just talking about you, Michael. We love you.
Oh, I love you guys more.
We have some new people here. We have Tom. Hi, Tom. How you doing? You can unmute and say hello to us if you'd like. Even get your camera going. You know.
Hello.
Yeah. How you doing, Tom?
Good. Good. Thanks.
Yeah. You can even get your camera going.
Yeah, I'm just going to. Just a moment.
Yeah. Everybody here that would like to just get their camera happening, you can go ahead, say hello. We're just. Our way we do our webinars here is it's real informal. Shane's going to give you great stuff. You're not going to get any kind of big pitch here, so you have to worry about us doing that. You're going to get content here. This is a learning webinar, so you're going to learn some stuff here from Shane. It's a great opportunity you'll have here. You'll see Shane delivers very good information, and feel free to ask all your questions that you want. Take advantage of this, please. That's the the whole idea here. Paul, how you doing, Paul? Welcome. You can say hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Welcome. Where are you from, Paul?
San Leandro, California.
Where in San Diego?
No, in the Bay Area, San Francisco.
Bay Area. Okay, I'm originally from Venice, California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man. Where the debris meets the sea. So
I just finished the contract down in Irvine for
very
5.5 years, so I'm back home.
Wow. What do you do?
I'm retired now.
All right, that's good. That's fantastic.
I was a project manager, basically.
Oh, cool. So what brought you
here? Just I'm dabbling in a bunch of different things, and I thought your topics look like a good thing to add to the toolkit.
Cool. Well, glad you're here. And Tom, what do you do?
I work for an outsourcer in Barcelona. So my clients here are Airbnb, Harley Davidson, Dyson, and a couple of other ones.
Oh, fantastic! Fantastic. What do you do over there in the company?
I'm on the board, but I also look after the operation of Airbnb and Dyson.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. We're having just to let you know, we're having a roundtable for, for leaders and companies discussions. So that's going to be, you're welcome to come to that. Please feel free to sign up.
Yeah.
I'll make sure
details of that.
Yeah.
Sorry to break in, Abraham.
Yeah, please.
Sorry. A colleague of mine has logged in, but she can hardly hear us. I don't know if you can see her. Her name is Ruth.
Oh, hi, Ruth. Welcome. Yeah, Ruth Serum. Is that right?
No, Ruth Kwashi.
Ah, okay. Well, I don't see the other Ruth. I see one Ruth, which is Ruth Serum. Welcome, Ruth. Say hello.
Yeah. What name are you using?
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
My name is Ruth. I'm joining you from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome. Yeah. Fantastic. We got international.
Yeah, I'm a customer retention expert. I've worked in Kenya and currently in Tanzania. I work for financial institution.
Oh, outstanding. Well, thank you for coming. Really appreciate that. It's an international crowd, and it's nice that everybody comes. We have here Claudia. Say hello.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Clara Calva. I'm from Mexico, but I live in Germany.
Oh, wow.
And I have a lot of experience in customer service, and I think it's really good for me to take this webinar.
I love Mexico. I'm from Southern California, so I spent a lot of time down there.
It's really near.
And Mexican food. I live in Israel now, and I have to make my own Mexican food, because I can't seem to find it around here. In fact, I had a friend of mine bring me a tortilla press so I can, I can have some tortillas, so
Yes.
it's good
yes.
stuff. Yeah, you guys, I think you guys got the best food in the world as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
And I'm a foodie, so I know what I'm talking about. Well, thank you very much. Jeff, how you doing from Dublin? Want to say hello to us? We got to hear that accent.
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing great. Jeff, I've seen you been on a few things with us. So you're a consultant, right?
Yeah, that's what I claim to be.
All right. So
Yeah.
what kind of consultant? You CX? I think it's
Yeah,
CX.
customer experience. Yeah, with a bit of a focus on making sure that customer experience is integrated with business goals. It's what I've discovered is there is some disconnect, between being tool driven or being call center driven, but ultimately, you want to have CX drive a business goal of some kind. So that's where I've been focusing.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad to hear. We'd love to hear your input and, get your feedback. So, I know you've been on other stuff with us, and we're thrilled to have you here today. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to get this name. All right. Let me see if I can get this. Well, it disappeared on me all of a sudden. There it is. It's Bukunola. Hey, say hello.
Hi.
Hi. Did I get your name right? Bukunola?
Yes, you did. Yes,
all
you
right.
did.
Where are you from?
Well, I'm from Nigeria, but I live in London.
Oh, wow.
And I currently work with a housing association in the new build section. So basically, I am the face of the organization when new residents move in.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm glad that you're here. We're all glad that you're here. Thank you so much. What do you hope to get out? What do you hope to get out of this today?
Well, I do a lot of customer facing and a lot of customer service. So even though I've worked in customer facing for quite a number of years, I find that I come across new challenges almost every week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping to learn new ways of serving the customer better, perhaps preempting their needs and staving a lot of the complaints that I get coming through to me.
Fantastic. Well, we have a free culture hacker training. And we just had our first one, and we're going to have the next one will be coming out soon. So you're on our list, so I'll make sure you get it if you would like. It's Shane. He has a book called Culture Hacker, and you can get the book for free. And we're having lots more webinars. We're having a Culture Hacker Summit coming up. So we got stuff for you. We have stuff for you. Yeah, that's what I do. My pleasure. My pleasure. We have here Paul. Hello there. You with us there, Paul? Okay, he went and got a coffee. Probably just get ready because he's so excited about this, right? So anyway, I'm Abraham Van Ismach. You've seen my picture over there, and I am the owner and partner of the Customer Service Professional Network, which we have over 200,000 members, and you folks are one of us. So I really appreciate you participating in these events that we put together. My job really is to find people like Shane and bring them to you so you can deliver the best customer service and experience as possible. I don't claim to be a customer service guru. I claim to be a customer guru, right? I know what good customer service is when I get it. We're all customers. And this is kind of how I started my group was by complaining about the service that I've seen in just different places. I just didn't have anywhere else to turn, and next thing you know, it grew to over 200,000 people that felt the same way. So that's what happened here. And instead of complaining, I decided, hey, what can I do? I want to do something about it. And I started to talk to experts and put together some summits, and now Shane has really jumped in, and he's been so helpful for the last several months, just volunteering to come in and just deliver amazing content. I'm just thrilled, and I really appreciate that. And you didn't come here to hear me talk. You came here to hear Shane talk. So I'm going to let Shane take it from here. Shane?
Thank you. Hey guys, how are you? Hopefully you're all healthy and sane out there. As I said, I know very difficult times, a lot of things going on. Well, listen, also recognize you got a lot of choice on your time. There's a lot of virtual, a lot of training going out there. It was interesting. I read a study yesterday that says there's 3 areas, with what's going on in the world. Obviously, all industries are down. There's 3 industries that have seen a market increase in the last 3 months. Home entertainment, you could probably get that. Groceries, but the other one is education. So learning and development, certainly taking advantage of this time. I really appreciate your time. And today we're going to talk about customer experience. Bit of history about me. I started with the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. I'm originally from New Zealand, so if you're wondering, that's the All Blacks jersey behind us. So I see someone from Ireland there, so we could talk all day long about that. But I came out here, worked with the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. I was working with them throughout Asia. So when people talk about customer service, as some of you did, I'm right there with you. What I do understand, though, is that customer service is about an interaction, and we're going to talk today about a strategy. Customer experience is bigger than service. And what I find is that many times people invest heavily in customer service without thinking of the bigger picture. How does this actually fit in? You need to have a strategy, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Now, over the years, we've obviously worked with a lot of hospitality groups, so you'll see some of that coming out if you know that industry. But we've also been engaged from BMW, the NBA, NFL, United Airlines. We have done Westfield Shopping Centers. All of them came to us and asked us, hey, help us with the customer interaction and experience. Over the years, as we've developed out our methodology, which we're going to review with you today, you'll see where I end up at the end of this, which is talking about leadership and culture. Abraham sort of said, I think, I wrote a book a few years ago called Culture Hacker, which is really the culmination of anything. And while a lot of people talk about customer experience and they get focused on the product, they get into the process, I want to make sure we all understand it is always going to be about the people. And customer experience truly is defined by how your people do. But before we get into the people and leadership, let's take a step back and just think how customer experience, think a little bit about it, talk a little bit about some of our experience and help sort of strategize your thinking, hopefully throughout our session. All right, so, we do a lot of research. We look at a lot of research, and I'm going to go back 10 years now. 36% of companies thought they would compete mostly on customer experience. Bring that forward to 2018, and it's quite a bit more. And you would argue today that when it comes to where is the battleground for a lot of organizations, it's in the customer experience. And I would almost say customer experience is the new marketing. Why? Because in our transparent online world, the reality is customers are going to talk about their experience with you. When they share that online, that becomes other people's reality. And what you have to understand is that how you take care of the customer is the single biggest and most talked about element of anything that happens. As you start to think about customer experience, as I sort of said, there it is the new marketing. It's how you have to think about, and I've come from a world, probably many of you, where the marketing team, the sales team get all the dollars and all the benefits. And as we would talk about and consult with it in many organizations, we've got to understand it's really your operational team delivering on the brand promise and your people in these individual interactions that are really defining how you are positioned in the marketplace today. We did, again, being from the hotel industry, I was very interested in TripAdvisor. When I was running hotels, 15 years ago, TripAdvisor was just an idea that I'd get annoyed about, because in my mind, it was just angry people who going online and complaining. There wasn't really much to it. TripAdvisor today in hospitality is the single biggest marketing distribution channel there is out there. What's also interesting is that as over the years, as we've started to look at TripAdvisor, we've learned that a lot of what people talk about, and this is the same for a lot of other communications or community channels, is they talk about people. They talk about attitudes. They talk about these feelings that they get out. So when you're talking about what your customer experience strategy is, you're going to see that what we're ultimately talking about is feelings, memories, and very soft elements that ultimately determine the success of your business. Again, there's some Bain & Company research, the disconnect. From our experience over the years, we often engage with companies that say they provide great customer experience, great experience to the customers. When we've done our research, though, we found that disconnect, that the customers do not always agree with that statement. So keep that in mind, that as you're thinking about your organization, you often have a bias that, hey, I think we do a pretty good job. But what are our customers truly saying? And I think that's it, that disconnect, and it's that gap that we ultimately started to spend a lot of time with some of these companies, understanding how to close the gap. You won't get there all the time because, let's face it, customer needs, wants are always evolving. And let's face it, there's some customers out there that just don't want to be satisfied. They're actually quite happy to play that victim, miserable role where all they're going to do is complain anyway. So we've kind of recognized that. So the gap never will close 100%, but I think companies can do a much better job getting a lot closer. So what do we sort of look at in terms of strategy? You know, the other thing that we talk about a lot is we recognize that a lot of companies want to be great at customer experience. Unfortunately, they don't have the strategy. As I sort of said, they focus on customer service. They focus on sort of single points of contact, but they don't take a step back and look at strategically how to apply their resources in that correctly. And that's where over the years we've come up with sort of our methodology of how to create a great strategy. And this is what we're going to talk about today, asking some questions and thinking about what it is that we're doing. I want to say that the first thing we have to understand about customer experience is that it's all about memories. The purpose is to create a memory, and we're going to spend a couple of slides talking about that in more detail. But I think that often gets lost. We often talk about, well, it's about making money, of course. But in our customers' mind, the reason that they engage with your products and services and what you want to be able to do is create memories. And there's some very important scientific and psychological research behind that of why you need to stand out in the crowd. And again, it's obviously to do with emotions. So to create great memories for your customers, we focus on 3 elements. Moments. You have to know the critical moments in the customer journey, and we'll kind of break that down in detail. Then you have to know what the customer values. Obviously, right now, we've added a significant value into a lot of the customer journeys that we're dealing with, health and safety. Not all products and services had to worry in such in depth about it, but we now know in 3 months that it has become an important value, consideration, and concern for your customers out there. So understanding what your customer values in you as an industry, a product or service is critical. And then the final part is what we call the 4 Ps of CX. You have to look at product, place, process, people. I've already teased you that people is going to be a big part of this. But what I want to basically say is that to create the right memories, you have to understand the critical moments in your customer's journey. You have to understand what they want from you at each of that moments. Is it convenience? Is it quality? Is it health? What is it that you need to provide? And then look at product, place, process, people to see how to deliver that. And so that's the process that we have used. We used it extensively with the MBA. We actually developed their whole customer, their fan experience. So we looked at the journey from being a season ticket holder, what it was like outside of a game, going to a game, entering, what happened. And it was interesting that many fans, and this may not be a surprise, go to an NBA game not really concerned about how the team plays or the game on the court. There were a number of other values that we found in there. For instance, a lot of parents going with children, the number one value was about quality time. It was about convenience. It was about access to restrooms. It was when we ranked all of the values that they had and what was most important to them, the game was anywhere from about 7 to 10 on their priority list. Business people, again, they like it when the team won, but when we looked at their values, what we realized is that the most important thing for them was the ability to network, the ability to talk, the ability to entertain. All of these things came into it. So understanding what's important to your customers is critical to this. And then, as I said, we'll apply the 4 Ps. So let's kind of go back to this idea of memories. If you have not read Daniel Kahneman's book, please go and read it. He will tell you all about why memory is so critical in business. He is the premier psychologist in helping us to understand the 2 types of memories that are most prevalent in all of us. All right? They have 2 perspectives. There is the self in the moment memory and what we call the remembering, really. So the experience self memory is a short-term memory of what happens in the moment. When you look at your customer's journey, you are going to think about that every moment in that journey is going to be remembered. When they said they had a great experience, we often think that they look at it as a whole. They don't. What they look for is moments that is the remembering self. If a customer doesn't remember anything about you long term, then you don't have brand loyalty. You are not going to get that customer to be willing to go out and talk about you, rebuy from you, rave about you. And so it's really important to understand this. When a customer experiences someone, you want them to remember something about you. The customers are faced with so many messaging all day long, and if you don't stand out in the crowd, and this is important, you don't create that memory, then we haven't created loyalty or advocacy that is going to be critical to your business long term. So again, I'm not going to go break down all of Daniel Kahneman's. Please go read his research. His HBR articles are fantastic. But immediately understand when a person experiences this, and probably the best way, and I think Daniel talks about this, customers do not experience you as a video. They experience you as a series of photos. And so it's really important that you start to think about that. Now, as we start to get into this idea of memories, that's what customers ultimately want. They want to remember something to come back to. And this is when you start to get into the idea of customer service. Customer service happens in certain moments. What you want your customer service is to stand out positively in someone's mind. And it's that standout. And this is why I find a lot of companies miss this. They haven't thought about where they can really wow their customers, surprise and delight them. They often have this belief that, and again, I'll talk about the NBA. They just believe that because they've got a basketball game going on, that people will come. That is not the case. You have to create moments to surprise and delight for them to become season ticket holders. We did this with BMW. BMW, when we got involved in the believe they have the best cars on the planet. They have the ultimate driving machine. There was an arrogance with regards to their experience. They're like, if someone doesn't want to buy the best car on the planet, then we don't want them. We don't care about them. There was an arrogance that really laid itself into its product. And what we had to get them to understand is that it isn't that the customer doesn't like the car, but if there's not an experience around the car where you put a little dramatic, you put a little feeling, you put some surprise and delight into it, you're really taking away and relying on the car or the thing to stand alone on its own. So that's probably one of the most important lessons that we see hit and miss is, have you thought about the customer experience and where during their journey you're going to have an impact and create moments? And that is why the first area that I often sit about and talk about is this idea of moments. Humans live their experiences as snapshots or photos, not videos. So don't think that every part of their journey with you has the same level of value or the same level of importance. Some moments will stand out more than others. Because I come from hospitality, I kind of looked, there's a little piece of research that I found fascinating. A one-night stay at a hotel, and this is it, just one night. So again, 24 hours. The journey of pre and post. There was Gallup did a piece of research about 1,072 touch points. Touch points is an interaction, a moment, in a hotel stay. And yet when they surveyed the customers, only 5 of them contributed to whether or not it was a good or great experience. It was the check-in process. It was if they ever had a guest request over the telephone. It was the food and beverage options that were offered. So generally there was one food and beverage interaction that happened during the stay. There was the reservation moment when they called up. And then there was the fond farewell. That didn't always happen at the front desk, but there was a moment where someone said goodbye. If those 5 moments went really well, a guest would say, I had a great experience. Now that doesn't mean the other 1,067 touch points didn't matter, but it's how they stood out in people's minds. So the question that always comes back is, do you understand the critical moments? when BMW engaged us to go to look at how they sold cars, because they said, our customers are telling us we deliver a bad experience, but we believe we've got the best product. What's wrong with us? We found 8 defining moments in the sales process that determined whether or not someone had a great experience. From the time they walked through the door, the person that signed up the paperwork, the unveiling of the car. These 8 moments all became absolutely critical. And so what we did with BMW is we said, hey, there was hundreds of opportunities or moments, but we're going to focus on these 8. And what happened as a result of that is we were able to increase their customer experience satisfaction by 12 points in a 12-month window, just over. It was about 15 months from our time we started measuring it. And all we did was start to understand moments. What is the critical points of contact, whether it's on telephone, whether it's in person, or as we find out today, on the website or interacting with those moments. Now, as you'll start to see later on when we start to get into the place can happen physically or can happen virtually. So again, don't think the moments is just when they have a face-to-face with someone. It's where are those critical moments in the buying, servicing, or that position. So my first challenge and the first part of any good strategy is analyze the moments. Know what's going on there. Now you go into values. So again, I think someone said on there, they represent Harley Davidson. So, John Russell says, hey, listen, the more you know your customers, the clearer it is about what you have to deliver it to them, the easier it is. Keep that in mind, because then the next question becomes well, what does the customer value most from you? Is it convenience? Is it quality? Is it choice? Is it wellness? Is it health? Is it safety? There is a myriad of them. Research that was done by Bain & Company in 2015 that was published, the research in 2016. And I encourage you to go look at this. It's called The Elements of the Value Pyramid. It was published in Harvard Business Review. What Bain did, and again, it's still so valuable today, is they looked at all the different things that customers value, and they were able to place them into 4 kinds of needs: functional, emotional, life-changing, and social. And they were able to kind of group them in there. What they found was the more of these values that you touched, the better it is that the customer was satisfied. So the more things you did, the better it was. The one thing that found in their research was quality was hands down the single most important value that customers had across all industries. Didn't matter about the industry, the quality or the perception of quality was critical. Then what they found was it depended by industry, product, and service as to what was most important to you. So I urge you to go and read that, to kind of look at what customers value and think about what are the things that they value that we have to deliver on really, really well. Let's go motivation. Not all products will have to focus motivation. So understand that you don't have to be all things, but you have to know what your customer values from you. Question always comes up, well, how do we know that? Well, hopefully you're talking to them. Hopefully you're getting their feedback. What's interesting is that we're able to go back over a 12-month period, look at all customer feedback for a company, and we can then plot on this chart using this kind of methodology, and we're able to come back and say, listen, based on customer feedback, there are 10 things that they value about you. We then go sit down with customers and we fine tune that. We might find it down to 4 or 5 things. So understanding what the customers value is important. Every person in your organization needs to know this. And what you need to make sure is that in that moment, you are focused in on delivering that value. So BMW, what we found in, again, if you've all bought a car, one of the most painful things is after buying a car, you then have to go do all this paperwork and they have to get approvals and you get financing. It's horrible, okay? Painful, So what we found is that what the customer valued most in those moments was comfort. Very important. It's going to take a period of time. So we immediately, and again, if you've gone to a BMW dealership in the last 2 years, you'll notice they have coffee bars. They've increased their food and beverage options. They have entertainment options. They have iPads for the kids. they have relevant magazines. They said, okay, we now need to create that. So one of the first things that should happen when paperwork starts is, let me get you something to drink. Do you need something to eat? So that was the first value where that customer says, hey, can you get us comfortable? Then the second one, obviously, was efficiency. How quickly can you move through this process? We took BMW, which was the paperwork process, from that was anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes, 58 minutes, I think was the number, to 90 minutes, all the way down to about 22, 23 minutes. Significantly, because we really focused on efficiency. What paperwork can be filled out online? What can be done before they walk in the door? So this really starts to now focus your efforts and energy around your processes and what you do. So I highly recommend read the article, use this, what customers value. Again, Bain's published it, Harvard Business Review's published it. It's a fantastic exercise. And as I said, go back through your data, go back through your feedback, and start to go, well, what does it? And some of you probably intuitively know these already. You know what? I know that what they love about us is our value. They love our quality. They love our efficiency. I mean, my friend out there that listed off the productsy things, Dyson. What a fantastic product. And again, what do people love about it? Well, one, they love the product. Again, the quality of it is well known. But what I find most interesting, and I've had my own experience, is their customer service is some of the best out there. Why? Because when you pick up the phone and you have a problem, it is never a problem for them to replace, to get fixed, and their whole piece is to make it as convenient as possible. We had to send a Dyson vacuum in, and it was like, hey, we had to get it fixed, and we're like, you know, what is it going to cost? First of all, they said, here's the person you need to contact here in our city, Las Vegas. They will come and get that for you. We're like, for a vacuum cleaner? That again, obviously was on the high end, but we were blown away because they understood that our time was valuable to us. So really important in your customer strategy to go through this step. All right, now we get into what I call the 4 Ps. This is kind of, and again, it's something that I was brought up in hospitality. When it comes to customer experience, think about your product, place, process, and people. All right, so I've talked about moments and I've talked about values. Now, in each of those moments, you need to deliver on those values through these 4 elements. All right, so keep that in mind. Now, let's start with product. Most companies are is obsessed with their products and their service. I use BMW already as an example. BMW is obsessed with its ultimate driving machine. It was so obsessed it goes, I don't really care about the experience. It's really, if they don't want it, then they're missing out on having the best car out there. The NBA at the time was obsessed with their play on the court. And they said, well, people don't love the game, then obviously they won't come. What they failed to realize in both instances, it was all about the experience. Listen, you've all got your own products and services. I'm not in the product and service business, which is why we consult with organizations in multiple industries. But you got to have your product and service. It's your product and service. I'm sure the smart people have done the research, delivered what it is that's needed. So I'm not going to say anything more other than maybe don't be so obsessed with your product and service. Be obsessed with experience, because the thing may not be the thing that stands out in people's mind. What does? Place. Place could be called environment. And what I want you to understand, and again, I'm using my BMW sort of business case. When we went to a dealership, which was the product was the car, the place was the dealership. And in today's thing, it's actually now online. So, but when we were there, it was all about the dealership. Dealerships can be some of the most bland, boring experiences ever. I would ask if you've been to a bank recently. All of a sudden, banks are serving you coffee, have these big comfortable chairs, they've got cool music in the background. What the heck? You're a bank. Nope, the bank has understood that they have to do an experience now. The biggest aha moment for BMW was to understand that people didn't always want to just buy a car or be sold to. People actually wanted to come in and experience the car, and they wanted to come in and have an experience, which means they come in. By the end of this, BMW would allow people to come in and sit on their laptops, not unlike a Starbucks, because that was the model we used for their dealership. And if they want to come and set up their laptop and sit there all day while their car gets fixed, they could do it because they had snacks, they had coffee, they had music, they had great Wi-Fi, because we said the senses were enlivened. It was actually a place I could hang out. That concept is really important when you start to think about your place. How does the senses get enlivened? Whether it's on the website, is it easy to use? What do they see? What do they hear? What do they touch? Obviously, in a more physical bricks and mortar setting, this becomes even more so. But place is about how to enliven the senses, how to make it feel like, oh my goodness, that was so easy. Oh, this was great. What they're seeing, I go onto some websites and there's so much information, it's like confusing, so people disappear in a heartbeat. What do they hear? What do they do? All of these things matter. So remember, when it comes to environment, think about how and if you're enlivening the senses. Process. Regardless of industry, they are your processes. We've worked in a lot of different industries. The comment I would make, and it's a generalization, is that 90% of all processes in the industry are exactly the same. Do not get so caught up in your process. Be efficient in your process. But remember, if you don't deliver process, and Danny Meyer, if you haven't read his book, I highly recommend Setting the Table. I highly recommend it because, again, how he took the restaurant industry. But I love this quote. Sometimes we get so consumed with our process, we forget about the human element that must go along with it. And so I go back to the car sales process. The car sales people are so focused on selling that spending any time with them, again, is quite painful. One of the things that we did at BMW is we said the first person that, you walk into a car dealership and you immediately get pounced on by the salesperson and they just want to sell you and you go, ooh, yuck, and you want to get away from them as soon as possible. We actually created, and again, we did not come up with this, but we looked at Apple and we looked at the Apple Genius and we created the BMW Genius role. What that means is when you go to a BMW dealership now, the person that you interact with first is not a salesperson. They're a genius that will just educate you about products and all the things that are available. They're personable, they're young, they're fun, they don't wear a suit, they've got open polo necks. It was about understanding that we had to start put some humanity into our processes. So keep that in mind, processes. Don't get so caught up. They have to be efficient, they have to be followed. You want to make sure that your processes are meeting the expectations and values of your customer, but please make sure that when there is a process, that it has humanity to it so that you can actually make someone feel something. And this is where I come to sort of the final P. For me, it's the most important one. Remember this, it's always about the people. Great product, great place, great process. You got to have great people to go along with this. Blake Morgan, someone I admire a lot. She writes a lot for Forbes. I urge you to follow her. She's got some really cool, useful insights. One of my favorite quotes from her is, your customer experience tells you everything you need to know about what's under the hood. What's under the hood is your company culture. It's the hearts and minds of your people. Here is the piece, and again, from a hospitality background, I learned this very long. You cannot make someone take care of a customer. You cannot. You can't make them be nice. You can't make them do that. They are what they are. What you have to be able to understand is you've got to create an employee experience and a culture that makes people want to take care of your customer. As I said earlier, when we went back and looked at TripAdvisor, 73% of all comments on TripAdvisor about the hotel was tied to a person or an attitude. That's your culture. And that's why it's so important to understand that so many times we get brought in to customer experience. So a company will bring us in and say, hey, I want to talk about the customer experience. United Airlines brought us in to do the customer experience after they dragged someone off the plane. I am unfortunately saying it is still a work in progress. But here's what happened. The first thing we did is let's start talking about your culture. Let's start talking about the people. Let's actually work backwards, because we understand the moments. We know what people value. But let's start talking about it. We went down it. We always see in different organizations that a lack of focus on your people and the employee experience hurts your customer experience more than anything else. EX, employee experience, drives CX. If you take one thing away, write it down. EX drives CX. You can't have a great employee experience and expect a great customer experience. You can't expect your employees to take care of your customer with smiling faces when they are treated with disdain or disrespect on a daily basis. This is 101 from hospitality, and it's still probably the most frustrating part of my job when I go to all these different industries. They forget about EX, and yet that is what's under your hood. And I can go and interact. I can talk to the customer service person on the phone in person or on the website, and I can tell a lot about how your employees feel about you more than anything else. Culture is the collective mindset, attitudes, and feelings that the employees have. It's how they feel about what they do and who they do it for. If they don't feel good about who they do it for or what they do, guess what? They're not going to come across to the customer in the right way. You will never deliver great customer service if the employees don't want to. You have to make them feel good. They have to feel good about who and what. And this is, as I said, it kind of people, listen, I've gone and had some conversation with some different organizations that are frustrated with this ideal, which is, what do you mean? I got to focus on my employees? Aren't they just glad they got a job? How does that help me? I want to focus on my customers. I go, you can't focus on your customers if you haven't focused on your employees first. So that's a basic, and that's really a foundation of all the work that we do today. Service profit chain, some of you are probably very familiar with it. It's old school, but it's really simple because so many of the best companies that I see out there today delivering great service believe in that idea. Hey, take care of your employees. It's your number one priority. You take care of them, they'll take care of the customer. The customer's taken care of. They will be loyal and advocates. And I want to put that out there. A lot of companies more traditionally go, it's all about customer loyalty. They measure customer loyalty. I would argue that customer advocacy is more important today. Why? Because loyalty is often judged on whether or not they come back and buy from you. My friend with Harley Davidson, with Dyson, you know, one of the things out is I don't have to buy a Dyson vacuum or the Dyson hairdryer. Some of the ladies might be familiar with that. It might be, my wife will tell me, the greatest hairdryer that's ever been created. Well, guess what? She will never buy another hairdryer because it is so damn good, and again, their service takes care of it. So loyalty would say, how many times do we come back and buy? Now, over a lifetime, that might be a number, but in a shorter term, where a lot of companies sit today, because again, stock price, profitability, it's such short term. What I would say is more important is how many times my wife has told her friends that the Dyson hairdryer is the single greatest hairdryer out there. How many times has she written in on a post that this is the greatest hairdryer out there? That's advocacy. So even though she might not buy a hairdryer for another 5 to 10 years, the number of times she is an advocate when asked, and again, you can tell that hairdryer is not something that I need, so I'm not really relating to this, but I see how passionate my wife is. Harley Davidson, another brand. If you ride a Harley Davidson, you are passionate, and so that is the only place to do. Well, you only probably get one Harley in your lifetime, maybe two, but gosh, they talk about it. So I really do kind of come back to that. If you're not talking about advocacy and measuring advocacy, and this is why social media reputation, I believe, is one of the most important measurements out there today. How often people are talking positively about you online. I think it's important. And again, to make this point, when we looked at TripAdvisor, I know it's one industry, very narrow, 72, 73% of all those comments came back to culture, attitude, and people. And then you got to come back to, well, what drives culture? And this is kind of that sweet spot is, it's about your managers. Probably the biggest piece that we did, I said we worked with United. When we started their customer experience strategy, we started here. We realized that the biggest problem, and again, there was a lot of things. We had a process. They had a manual that was 89,000 pages of how to deliver the experience in there. 89,000 manual. We got it down to about 3,400. Still a lot, but again, I'm not saying it was the only thing. But the single biggest thing that we found was that there was something like 8,000 managers, frontline managers and supervisors out there that hadn't received training for a really long period of time, if any. As a result of that, they did not know how they were creating the culture. Some people naturally were doing it. As a result, they didn't know how to take care of people. They weren't investing in it. When we worked and still are working with United, the customer experience strategy turned quickly into a people strategy and really a leadership strategy. of investing in and making sure that the people that were responsible for their people knew what they were doing and how to lead, not manage. Leadership and management are two sides of the same coin. Management ensures your operation runs and your products are selling and everything's consistent and all that good stuff. Leadership inspires your people to want to do it. And so again, as we sort of come to this, remember, leadership is your manager's ability to inspire the hearts and minds of your people. Culture is the collective hearts and minds, and the key word there is collective. Some people will have a bad day sometimes. If people are having a bad day all the time, your business is in trouble. Leaders inspire people's hearts and minds. It makes them feel good about what they do, who they do it for, and want to do it the best. It's the number one question that I ask when we start any project. What's the collective hearts and minds of your people like? Because your customers are saying that's not that good. And that's the important piece that I kind of finish with. I say, for me, when you start about your CX strategy, you're really talking about your people strategy. And if I'm really being truthful and honest, the question I'll ask you is, so what are you doing to set your managers, the people with titles? Just because you got a title doesn't mean you're a leader. Leaders inspire. There's a big difference. Companies have lots of managers. They often have very few leaders. Yet when it comes to customer experience, leadership is one of the most important factors in how to deliver great experience. So that was, and listen, I have gone through this many times, but I often find organizations that have many managers with titles but few leaders are unable to deliver great customer experience. And that's why a lot of what we do today is leadership development. We focus on culture, all of it with the end in mind of let's deliver better customer experiences out there. Again, it is a high level. It was a lot of stuff to process. It was a tease. There's a lot of different stuff. Certainly, you'll get a recording of this. I pointed you in some direction about where to go to read more about it. What I hope is it's got you thinking. As I sort of said, in today's times, I think one of the best things we do is just think more. I believe curiosity is a very important state of mind that we all must have. The opposite of curiosity is grandiosity. It means we think we know it all. One of the worst things we can sit around today is think we know it all. Times are changing, people are changing, our employees have changed, our customers have changed. It's like, whoa, just be open to this. And hopefully what I've done today is to get you thinking, take some of this back to your team, ask these kind of questions, and really just go back and go, wait up, do we really know the moments? Have we understood the values? And here's one thing I'll tell you is these values change so quickly. So if people go, oh yeah, I understand what the values are. And it was, well, what are they? And you're using last year's data. This is a really important time to sit back and go, wait up. I think people are wanting some different stuff. And obviously around health, wellness, safety, there's a lot of stuff piled into that. And then just go back, product, place, process, people. Remember your 4 Ps. And really sit down and ask where you're being successful today and where maybe you could use some help. So I'm going to, Abraham, and kind of give it back to you, but maybe there's some questions out there that people might want to ask. Let's use our remaining time to kind of go through that. We've got about 15 minutes, so let's use it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Shane. I made sure to put those books you mentioned in the chat there so they can just link right straight to those books. Awesome. And a few things here. I have right here, it looks like in the chat. Hang on a second. I just need to move it up here because we had a good turnout here today, Shane. Lots of people showed up. We really appreciate you guys doing it. It says great. This is from Tom. He says great presentation. I have pages of takeaways, even though I have run the CX for 2 great companies you mentioned, Dyson and Harley. Tom, you want to unmute and you can just say for yourself and say hello.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
I thought it was fascinating what you were talking about, Shane. And actually, you made me think much more about the 2 clients that I deal with. I kind of take for granted. And interestingly, I'm talking with both of them right now. We've been talking for years about you, and they keep saying to me, "You've got to do management development. You've got to do management development." And I'm arguing back to say, no, we don't. We need to do leadership development. And I had a conference call an hour before this one where actually they're on board and we're saying this is about leadership, not management right now. So I think that's right. It resonates very strongly with me.
Yeah, listen, and again, I take my hats off. I use those because you brought them up, but I talk about, and again, I use BMW because BMW truly believed it had the best product. It has a fantastic product. Dyson, gosh, what great products. Harley, what you can get caught up sometimes that, well, it's about the product, stupid. We've got great products, therefore we're good, we're done. And you know, again, BMW spends millions, if not billions, on R&D and making sure they always have the ultimate driving machine. Yet they were spending very little in leadership development and even some of their experiences. You know, they would spend all this money on perfecting the car, but it took forever for us to convince them to get a good coffee. You know, you go to a dealership and it's the coffee that they brewed in the morning that's still been sitting there for, you know, 4 hours, and you go, really, guys, you've got this amazing product, but you've got the crappiest coffee, or a snack that was put out there. This is why it's very holistic for me when we go, you've got to think strategy, think about the key moments of when it happens, and it might be a customer service call, a type of call. Not everything is built the same. And again, I can tell you that I go in industries I know nothing about. I don't know anything about Harley-Davidson motorbike, other than I've ridden a motorbike a couple of times. But I can guarantee I can go in and pull all your customer feedback and data for the last 12 months and know exactly what's most important to them, the moments that it's there, how they feel, what they want. And that's what you've got to always remind yourself. I sometimes find we get all this data and feedback and we don't do anything with it. It's kind of like, oh, we got a 98% satisfaction, we're good. We got an 89%, that's all that matters. But within the data is the details. And that details will tell you even when things are starting to shift. And Harley-Davidson is an interesting one. The shift started to happen a few years ago. There's more competition. There's a lot about the psychology that Harley-Davidson was almost, you know, had no competition, and yet everyone started to creep in. I will tell you that the reason that BMW got shocked was that a company or a brand called Lexus, which if you haven't heard and if you don't realize is just a souped up Toyota. I hope to break it, but that is what a Lexus is. It is a Toyota on steroids. Suddenly ate significant market share from the traditional Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi. How did they do it? Well, if you own a Lexus, you'll know that they didn't focus on the car, even though they did a little bit. They just ensured they had the best customer experience, and they made sure people are comfortable, and they focused on all the elements we talked about. So listen, there's so many examples out there, guys. I go, apply that to you and really think about that, but don't get caught up in your product. Don't just get caught up in your process, and don't just get caught up with your managers being able to, you know, run an operation or to run a business that keeps ticking over. Please advise, I see this here. So how do you run CX on a budget? Well, that's the really cool part. So how do you do CX, customer experience on a budget? First of all, what's the product? And then start to think about, you've got to go back to the moments. I can't tell you what to spend. I mean, I can only tell you that, again, one of the moments we discovered with BMW, the critical moment was when you get handed the key of your brand new car. Hope you probably all experienced what that moment. It's pretty cool. For you, you're like, one, it's a significant investment. One, you've spent a lot of time making this decision. What we know is that for customers, it is so important. You create a memory here. BMW is what? Yeah, you can pick up the keys over at the front desk. You're good. Well, guess what? We changed it and we went for best practices because some dealerships did it so well. All we worked out was if you put a cover on the car, and they have it in their little room, you put a cover on it, you play some really cool music, you bring them in, offer them a beverage, they had champagne, the coffee, the water, and all you had to do was unveil the car, hand them the keys and say thank you and congratulations, and we created memories. What did it cost us? That BMW car that someone may have just spent, you know, $80,000, $100,000 on, we got these covers that were worth $10. So the question becomes back, well, how do you do this on a budget? You do it by being really smart. When you understand values of surprise and delight, I can tell you that some of the best surprise and delight cost very little. What they do require is attention in the moment and recognizing what to do in that moment. So The budget thing is a process where you can spend lots of money on CX, or you can spend very little. If your people have a little bit of theatrical and they're kind of passionate and they're excited, they actually already deliver great customer experience on a budget because you've already hired them. And this is the thing that I think people often lose. Again, if your people aren't passionate and bought into this, that's CX. If you're already hiring people, hire the right people. People with some passion, some personality that like to do that. So that's why I kind of say, people go, well, my CX has to be like, I have to spend thousands or millions of dollars. I'm like, no, you don't. Just focus on your people, hire the right people, put some money into your selection process. I've had more benefits in CX from hiring better people or the right people than at any time. BMW, again, we hired BMW geniuses. They had no knowledge of cars. They loved cars, but they didn't necessarily have a knowledge of it. What they did have is they had great personalities. We put them in front of the salespeople, and dramatically, 12 percentage points in a 12 to 50-month period is dramatic change when you're talking about customer experience satisfaction. Data collection process. Good data is better than a lot. So how do you get it? Go to your customers. This is, again, it's another really important point. Not all data is built the same. So when we go through, we go through and go, well, what is the customer telling us? Where are they telling us? First of all, is it online in a community? Well, then you go scrape it. And that's where there's companies, social media reputation companies will do that for you. And it's a fantastic number and data where they give you a beautiful readout. Yes, costs some money, but most data collection does. We just go back. I can go back with my team, go back through all the data. It takes a long time, but we go back through and pull comments out. We pull themes out. You start to get an idea of what's right, what's wrong. But most importantly, ask yourself, are you talking to your customers? It sounds really simple. With all the data in the world, make sure and go, how often are we talking to our customers? Which customers are we talking to? That's the best data and the best feedback that you can get. Data collection, feedback is a critical part of your strategy to understand moments, values, and where you're being successful. The problem is I find a lot of companies just using data as a holistic, going, oh, I got a 90% satisfaction, my job is done. And that you can't have that. That 90% satisfaction, it can be rigged. BMW dealerships on their customer experience satisfaction would get scores. The worst score you could get was like 85%. Most of them were at 95, 96, 97%. And you go, well, how is that possible? It's just the way they're rigging the data. They were basically skewing it on certain moments and that, so that they were giving themselves a false sense of satisfaction. Yet when we scraped and actually went into and looked at social media reputation, they were down in the 60s. What was the gap? Remember, one of my first comments back with that closing that gap is be careful about giving yourself a false sense of what the data is, and go, the best way is go talk to your customers. And in a social media driven world, where are they talking about you the most? Make sure you know that. And by the way, don't hide the data and feedback from your employees. Get them involved in this. Ideal leader profile if you're hiring a manager. First of all, don't think of leadership as a personality. We get a little bit too caught in that. Well, what makes a perfect leader? You can create a leader. A leader is a series of behaviors and habits. So what I believe is that you can take now some personalities are better at leadership. Let me just say that. But I can take anybody and teach them leadership. What you have to do is have a sustained process of following that out. The number one thing I asked this to a client, a new client yesterday. I said, what is your leadership expectations? And they looked at me and says, what do you mean? Well, I said, where have you written down what the expectations of a manager is to drive the type of culture and deliver on your brand promise? Well, we don't have leadership expectations. We got values. We've got something we don't have. I said, here's the thing that's often missed. I have to have leadership expectations because I need to know what my manager must do to create the type of culture that I need to deliver on my brand promise. Once I have my leadership expectations, and so for a lot of it, it's an expectation might be hire the right people. Select the right people for the company is a very simple leadership expectation. Well, what does that mean? That's actually a lot of stuff. The majority of managers will hire people based on experience. That's the number one thing that a manager will look for. Do they have experience in the industry? The joke in BMW was that a sales manager that was fired or let go today was working at the dealership next door tomorrow. Why? Because they had amazing experience. So the number one thing a manager looks for is, is the person got experience? Why do they look for experience? Because it means they don't have to do training. So it's a whole another story, but just know that. The second thing that they hire someone for is, would I get along with them? So managers will hire people that are like themselves. Both of those things are not necessarily good. They're not bad, experience good, and if the managers have got the right set of personality characteristics, maybe it's fine. But what you have to understand is you got to hire the right people for the company, the business, and that will get along with the team. So this takes us into recruitment. There's a whole science now about why we're recruiting wrong or we're selecting people wrong. So we do the same with managers. We've got to make sure we know the expectations that you have to select, and then I teach people to select in the right way. Here's the tools that we use to get our company. Not everyone should work for your brand and company. Not everyone is a fit for it. It's got nothing to do with orientation, color of skin, or anything else. It's just to do that some people will like a style of environment and product better than others. So when it comes to that leader profile, people will say, well, they've got to have charisma. They've got to be hard worker. I've seen all these profiles. What I will tell you is that most managers are promoted because they're good at a task. They were good at a certain task. I was promoted because I was good at a task. What you have to be able to do is know what you expect of the leadership side, not the management side. Management is, all right, I expect you to do these processes. I expect you to do the scheduling. I expect you to run a report. I expect you to keep your finances in order. The leadership side is, how do you build the type of culture that the people that we need for our product and service to be successful will be there. So for me, the leader profile should be more of like, what are the leadership habits or expectations that managers must follow or adhere to create the type of culture to give us the type of brand. Tony Hsieh, said it really, really well. His idea was, brand is just a lagging indicator of culture. And I'm going to go back to this. Brand and customer experience. Customer experience is the lagging indicator of your employee experience. Your brand, which is what people are talking about out there in the world, is the lagging indicator of your people. Get your people right first. Get your leaders right first. Everything else will follow. How's everyone feeling out there? Listen, I'm just throwing ideas. You know what? At the end of the day, that's all we do right now. I do urge you after this, take a couple of moments to go back and just go, what did I get out of this? Maybe some areas of focus that I should, or maybe some questions to ask. I'm not standing here going, this works perfectly. Everything is adaptive. But what I'm saying is that, listen, we've done this for some pretty cool, big, small, all sorts of brands, a lot of different industries. Because of the methodology, we ask the right questions. And that's what I think, that's why I'm in the consultant business. We ask the right questions. That creates some uneasiness sometimes, which means it gets people to think of whether or not they've actually got this right. So don't be afraid to ask those questions. And don't be afraid that you might not have the right answers right now, but that's why you create a strategy. Strategy is about how to direct your resources to the things that are needed most. And it doesn't mean that you'll fix all things tomorrow, but maybe it's one thing that you've highlighted from today that you can go without spending any money, have some impact on. So hopefully we got that out, and it's a good time to just get thinking.
Well, that was an awesome presentation. I really appreciate that. Shane, do you mind if I, as I went to the shanegreen.com website, and there's a link there for if people are interested, if they would like to get, like you have a free, they can, evaluation, to see how you can help them and how your company, would you mind if I would give them your link?
Listen, send them over to, and it's it, guys, we are actually, if you look out after this, we've got, I'm putting out a little CX strategy booklet with a lot of the stuff in here today. There's an article coming out. So listen, you can find me at sginternational.com, shanegreen.com. It's a culture assessment, not a CX assessment. If you're interested more on the CX side, but listen, connect out, reach out. You got questions? Listen, we've adopted the mentality that right now in these crazy times, we want to be generous. We want to help out where we can. And as I said, it's great that you took some time for me today. That you know, as I said, I'm happy to take some more time for you if you need it. Everyone's different. And so, yeah, Abraham, just connect them over, connect them
Yeah,
up.
I'll be happy to do it. For people, I don't want to send a link unless I have your permission. So could you let me know if I have your permission to give the link to, if you're interested, just type in there that, yes, I'd like to, you know, before I put something like that out to you guys, can I have your permission to give you the link? Okay,
Hey,
great.
so yeah,
Anybody else? Yeah. Yes. Great. Michael. Yeah. Anybody else? Tom, is that okay with you?
Yep, absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. I want to make sure that you get this because you know, Shane has done such a good job here. You know, definitely I'll get it to you. I'm going to put the link in right now. I just want to make sure you guys wanted to get that, but I highly recommend, you know, click on that link. Shane will, you see what this is a no pitch webinar, you know, and you will get you know, if you need help, you see that Shane actually can get things done for you and save you guys a lot of time and money. So there's the link right now. Tom, do you have any questions that you know, why we got you here? You want to ask Shane? Anything else?
No, I'm good at the moment, thank you.
Okay, great. Well, Shane, thank you so much. Appreciate you once again. And Shane, we have a roundtable coming up that Shane's going to be doing. If you're interested in getting some of the past webinars that we've done with Shane, just let me know, and you just drop me an email, you know, for that. I'll send you that. Whatever else that we can do to help you, to help your customers. And, you know, I had a quick thought. I want to kind of put my 2 cents in about the question about the budget CX. So, Shane, you mind if I throw like my 2 cents in that one?
Hey, if you've got 2 cents, I say you.
Over here in Israel, we actually
But just remember, you've set the bar low when you said 2 cents. You could have, you know, given it.
Well, they want low budget, so here you
that
go,
means
man.
you got to do it quickly, and it's got to make sense. So.
It's got to make 2 cents, right? So anyway, you know, what I want to say just simply is that it doesn't cost you much to be good to your employees. You know, I mean, just you don't have to, you know, raise their salary if you don't have the budget for that. You need to trust them. You need to recognize them. I mean, that's like, I think one of the biggest reasons people leave is they don't feel appreciated for what they do. And if you can sincerely look at what they're doing and listen to them and get feedback from them and respect them, that is going to not cost you anything, you know, other than some time, and it's got to be real. And that's also leadership, and that what Shane was talking about, curiosity. It doesn't cost you anything to be curious either, to go ask how people are doing and creating relationships with your employees, and you'll see you'll get a return on your investment that'll be beyond anything. So that was my 2 cents.
That was worth $2. There's at least $2 in that.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, remember, I put this quote up there. Remember, listen, it takes us back. Charles Darwin had this right. I think it's probably the best application I can give you for organizations. It's not the strongest, it's not the smartest, it's the one that's most responsive to change. Right now out there's a lot of change going on. You're dealt with a lot of unknowns, some a lot more than others. So you know what? Be open right now. Be open to challenge, to question, to think about things a little differently. Don't sit back and think you've got it worked out because it's worked like that way for the last, honestly, even if you're doing something last year, just don't be afraid to challenge it, because the companies that come out of this really well, and there are some companies that will do it, they're just responsive to the change, the values, the moments, and all of those things. So please keep that in mind. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. We'll look forward to seeing you guys around.
Yeah, thank you very much, folks.
Thank you, Bram.
Thank you very much.
All right, you have a great rest of whatever you have, day, night, morning. You know, stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Just a moment, Abraham.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to say that I got my team to join this webinar, and I'm so happy they did. Shane, thank you so much.
Who's on your team here? Is it Ruth?
Buddy.
Okay, so I'm not sure if they're still on the line. Helen.
Oh no, I don't see Helen here, but I see that is Ruth in your team.
I see Helen. Helen is here.
Yeah, I think Helen is still around.
Oh, all right, great, wonderful.
Helen, please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Helen Boasing. I'm with Michael's team.
Wonderful. Well,
Nice job.
yeah, thank you so much. It's
Tima, would you please introduce yourself?
uh-oh. I think he's getting a coffee.
Rufa. All right. Thank you so much, Abraham and Shane.
All right, guys.
We really appreciate your support.
All
Thank you,
right,
everyone.
guys, enjoy. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And please come back for another one. We're having each week. We're having something, you know, and you see what we're doing here, and we're happy to have you.
Absolutely. Come back.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your day or evening or
See you
morning,
guys.
wherever you
Take
are.
care.
Yep.
Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye bye.